The sun rose slowly over the vast, endless oceans of Earth. From above, the water looked calm and peaceful, shining like liquid silver. Ships sailed quietly, fishermen cast their nets, and the world seemed safe. Humanity had always thought they knew the oceans. They had mapped them, studied them, and conquered them with their powerful navies. Yet, deep beneath the surface, something ancient and unseen waited, watching. Captain Harris stood on the deck of the Battleship Valor, staring at the horizon. The morning breeze was cool, and the waves whispered softly against the hull. Harris had spent 20 years commanding ships, and he had seen storms, pirates, and enemy forces. But today felt different. There was a strange stillness in the water, a silence that made the crew uneasy. "Sir," said Lieutenant Ramos, approaching quickly, "our sonar is picking up something. I can't explain it. It's large, moving, but it's not a known vessel." Harris frowned, looking at the radar screen. A large blip moved beneath the surface, silent and fast. "Could it be a submarine?" he asked. Ramos shook his head. "No, sir. Nothing we know moves like this, and it's too deep for a normal sub." Harris felt a shiver run down his spine. He had faced many threats, but this was different. Something in the ocean didn't want to be found. Something alive, intelligent, and powerful. Meanwhile, far below, the water was alive in ways humans could not see. Dolphins swam in precise patterns, their sleek bodies cutting through the waves like silver arrows. But these were not ordinary dolphins. They moved with purpose, their eyes bright and knowing. For years, humans had thought dolphins were smart, playful, friendly creatures. But today, the dolphins seemed different. They watched the surface ships, the humans with their weapons, and they waited back on the Valor. The crew went about their morning routines, unaware of the silent observers below. Mechanics checked engines, sailors polished the deck, and the cook prepared breakfast. Everything seemed normal, but the ocean did not rest. The strange blip on the sonar grew larger, moving closer to the battleship. Captain Harris called the officers to the bridge. "Everyone, stay alert. We don't know what this is, but I want all defenses ready. Keep your eyes open and report anything unusual." The officers nodded. They were trained, experienced, and fearless. Yet even they could not hide the tension in the air. There was a feeling of something unseen pressing down, like the ocean itself was holding its breath. Hours passed. The blip moved silently beneath the ship. The sun climbed higher, and the water shimmered. Birds circled overhead, calling to each other. Fish swam below, unaware of the approaching danger. And the dolphins, they moved closer, surrounding the Valor without making a sound. On the shore, news of the missing smaller vessels spread quickly. People were worried. How could a ship disappear without a trace? They asked. Scientists speculated, but no one could explain it. Was it a storm, a technical failure, or something else? Something that humans could not yet understand. Captain Harris watched the water carefully. "Keep scanning the area," he ordered. "We need to know what we are dealing with before it's too late." Suddenly, the water around the ship began to change. Waves rose higher, moving unnaturally fast. The sky darkened slightly, even though there were no clouds. Something beneath the surface caused the ocean to twist and churn, creating strange patterns that no one could explain. The crew grew anxious. Sailors whispered among themselves, wondering what kind of sea creature could cause such chaos. But they were far from imagining the truth. The oceans were not empty. They were home to something intelligent, something ancient, and something far stronger than humans had ever faced. As the sun reached its peak, a single dolphin leaped out of the water near the Valor. It moved with grace and precision, landing silently back into the waves. Then another dolphin appeared, then another, until dozens surrounded the battleship. They circled, watching, testing the humans. Their eyes glinted with an intelligence that no human could fully understand. Captain Harris felt a chill. "This is no ordinary dolphin behavior," he muttered to himself. "Something is guiding them. Something big." The waves grew stronger. The Valor rocked gently, then harder. Something beneath the surface stirred. Something enormous. The water boiled as if the ocean itself had come alive. The crew held their positions, weapons ready, hearts pounding. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the sea fell quiet again. The blip on the sonar vanished. The waves calmed. The dolphins disappeared, diving into the depths. The battleship floated in a strange, uneasy silence. Captain Harris knew one thing. This was only the beginning. Something in the oceans had woken. Something that humans had never seen before. And when it chose to reveal itself, the world would not be ready. The calm was over. The storm had not yet come, but it was coming. The ocean had returned to an uneasy calm, but the crew of the battleship Valor could not shake the feeling that they were being watched. Captain Harris paced the bridge, eyes glued to the radar. Every wave, every ripple seemed to carry a hidden threat. Lieutenant Ramos studied the sonar display again. Sir, whatever we saw earlier, it's back, and it's moving closer, much faster than before. Harris leaned over the screen. The blip was irregular, dotting from one side to another. It was large, much larger than any known submarine or marine creature. All right, Harris said, voice steady but tense. We're going to investigate. Prepare the reconnaissance drones. I want eyes everywhere. Below deck, engineers checked the drones, launching them one by one into the water. Each one dove silently, its cameras transmitting live images to the bridge. For a moment, all seemed normal. Schools of fish swam past. Dolphins leaped in the distance. Ordinary, peaceful life. Then the first sign of the extraordinary appeared. The dolphins, they circled the drones with precision. Their movements coordinated, almost like they were guarding something. One drone captured a close-up of a dolphin's eye. It shimmered with intelligence, almost as if it was studying the humans. Lieutenant Ramos gasped. Sir, these dolphins, they're not acting randomly. They're organized. They know what they're doing. Harris felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Organized against us, he whispered. Suddenly, one of the largest sonar blips appeared near the battleship. It moved slowly at first. Then, with terrifying speed, the crew could see a shadow passing beneath the waves. Massive, powerful, almost impossible to measure. The ship's alarms began to ring. Sound general quarters. Harris shouted, prepare weapons, but be careful. We don't know what this is. Cannons swiveled, anti-submarine devices hummed, and the crew braced themselves. The battleship was humanity's pride, strong, well-armed, and confident. Yet nothing in their training had prepared them for this. And then it happened. The Dolphins surged forward in unison, forming a moving barrier between the Valor and the shadow beneath. The waves rose unnaturally as if the ocean itself was alive, protecting whatever hid below. Crew members leaned over the railings, staring in disbelief. Hundreds of dolphins leaped, diving, and circling with a perfect rhythm that no human mind could predict. Sir, they're directing it, stammered Ramos. The shadow, it's moving exactly where they want it to. Harris clenched his fists. He had faced enemy fleets, storms, and even pirates, but the coordination between dolphins and the unknown shadow was unlike anything he had ever seen. Every weapon fired seemed to miss. The sonar pulses bounced uselessly off the creature, as if it knew their every move before they even made it. The shadow rose from the depths, just enough to reveal its size. It was massive, larger than the battleship itself, sleek and dark, with shapes that twisted like living metal. The crew could feel the power radiating through the water, a force both intelligent and ancient. A tense silence fell over the ship as the creature hovered there, just beneath the waves. The dolphins continued their precise movements, guiding the monster, protecting it from human weapons. Every sailor felt the weight of the ocean pressing down on them, a warning they could not ignore. Harris gritted his teeth. We can't fight this head on, he said. We need to observe, understand it, and survive. But survival was not guaranteed. The ocean itself seemed to pulse, alive with energy, as if it had a mind of its own. The waves splashed higher, battering the hull. The crew held on as the ship rocked violently. Then the dolphins did something terrifying. They disappeared beneath the waves, leaving the shadow alone, but not for long. In an instant, a massive surge of water hit the Valor, pushing it off course. The crew scrambled to regain control, but every attempt to maneuver was countered by the ocean's strange power. Ramos looked at Harris, fear in his eyes. Sir, it's testing us. They're probing our defenses. It knows how to fight without even touching us directly. Harris nodded grimly. Yes, and it's teaching us a lesson. We are not in control here. The oceans, the dolphins, they are part of something much bigger than we imagined. For hours, the Valor drifted under the watchful eyes of the dolphins and the massive shadow. The crew dared not fire. Every movement they made was anticipated, countered, or ignored. It became clear this was not just a creature, it was an intelligence, ancient, powerful, and protective of its domain. As night fell, the waves calmed, and the shadow receded into the depths. The dolphins vanished as well, leaving the humans shaken but alive. The sea returned to its quiet, peaceful state. The Valar trembled as the waves grew taller, striking the hull with fierce power. Captain Harris and his crew held their positions, eyes fixed on the dark water around them. The dolphins were gone, but their presence still lingered, like ghosts guiding something far below. Lieutenant Ramos stared at the sonar, sweat on his brow. Sir, it's coming back! And this time, it's closer. Much closer. Harris's jaw tightened. Prepare for the impossible. Helm, steady the ship. All weapons ready, but move cautiously. We don't know what we are facing. The water before them roiled violently. From the depths, the massive shadow rose again, larger than before. Its surface shimmered with an unnatural darkness, twisting and writhing like a living nightmare. The ocean churned as if it were a single, breathing entity. Then came the first strike. A massive surge of water slammed into the Valor, knocking it sideways. Sailors shouted, bracing themselves against the sudden force. Cannons fired. Torpedoes were launched. But each attack seemed to pass harmlessly through the shadow or deflect at impossible angles. The creature was untouchable. The crew realized that conventional weapons were useless. The ocean itself seemed to protect the monster, bending and shifting the waves to block every attack. Harris gritted his teeth. Weapons fire only if necessary. Observe, learn. We are not fighting an enemy. We are studying a force beyond our understanding. Beneath the waves, the dolphins reappeared. They moved with incredible speed, forming precise patterns around the shadow. They weren't attacking the humans directly. Instead, they guided the shadow's movements, using it like a weapon while keeping it under control. The dolphins were leaders, strategists, and guardians all at once. The shadow lunged, sending a massive wall of water crashing onto the Valar. Crew members were thrown to the deck. Equipment shattered, alarms blaring. Harris grabbed the railing, shouting orders over the roaring chaos. Stabilize the engines. Keep the ship from capsizing. Focus on survival. The crew fought desperately, using every tactic they knew. But for every maneuver, the ocean seemed to anticipate them. Every countermeasure was nullified. They were not facing a single enemy. They were up against the intelligence of the entire sea. Hours passed. The battle continued without a pause. The Valor was battered, but the humans refused to surrender. They observed the dolphins in the shadow, learning patterns, studying weaknesses, and adapting. Every sailor, every officer felt the weight of history pressing down. They were witnesses to something ancient, something powerful beyond imagination. Then, just when it seemed the humans might be defeated, something remarkable happened. The dolphins moved faster, diving beneath the shadow and guiding it in a new direction. With surprising precision, they caused it to move away from the Valor, creating an opening for the battleship to escape. Harris seized a moment. Full speed ahead? We follow at a safe distance, but stay alert. Do not provoke it further. The crew cheered quietly, relief washing over them. They had survived, but they had also witnessed a truth that no human had ever faced before. The oceans were alive with intelligence far older and stronger than themselves, and humanity's place in the world was not as rulers of the seas, but as visitors, intruders, and learners. That night, as the Valar drifted under the stars, Harris stood on the deck, staring into the dark waters. The dolphins had vanished again, leaving only ripples behind. The shadow had disappeared into the depths, but its presence lingered like a warning. Every creature in the ocean, every force below the waves, is part of something bigger than us. Harris said quietly to himself, we survived today, but the ocean, it has rules we do not yet understand. The crew worked in silence, tending to damage, repairing systems, and keeping watch. The sense of awe was mixed with fear. Humanity had fought and survived, but they were not the strongest, not even close. They had faced a power older than history itself, and they had lived to tell the tale. As the sun rose over the horizon, casting golden light over the restless waters, Harris made a decision. We report everything, every detail. The world must know that the oceans are alive, and that humanity is not the master here. But we will study, we will learn, and one day we may understand. The calm of the morning belied the chaos below. Somewhere deep in the ocean, the shadow watched, and the dolphins waited. Humanity had survived its first true battle in the deep, but the war for understanding was only beginning. The ocean was no longer a quiet frontier. It was a battlefield of knowledge, power, and intelligence, and humans had only just begun to scratch its surface. The world woke to shocking news. The Battleship Valor, one of the most powerful vessels in the fleet, had returned battered and barely functional. No one could explain what had happened. Reports from Captain Harris were vague, mentioning a massive underwater force, dolphins behaving strangely, and a shadow beneath the waves that no human weapon could touch. Governments scrambled to understand. Scientists, military experts, and media poured over the data. Sonar readings, eyewitness accounts, and drone footage painted a picture that was almost unbelievable. The oceans, humanity's oldest frontier, were not empty. They were home to intelligence far older and far stronger than humans had ever imagined. At a press conference, Admiral Stone tried to reassure the public. Our crews are safe, and the incident is under investigation. There is no immediate threat to coastal cities, but the ocean has reminded us that it is not ours to control. Behind the scenes, however, fear ran deep. Naval officers whispered about the dolphins' strange behavior. They weren't attacking us, said one. They were guiding something enormous. They were coordinating, planning. We've never seen anything like it. Captain Harris spent hours on debriefings recounting every detail. The shadow beneath the waves. It was huge, he told the committee. It wasn't a whale. It wasn't a submarine. It was something alive, smart, and ancient. And the dolphins, they were not just animals. They were its guides. They were leading it. A young marine biologist, Dr. Kira Lane, leaned forward. Are you saying the dolphins are in charge? She asked. That they control the ocean's real power? Harris nodded slowly. Not control. Protect. They are guardians. Whatever lives in the deep, they make sure it doesn't destroy everything. Or maybe it protects the ocean from us. The room fell silent. For centuries, humans had thought they ruled the sea. They had mapped coastlines, conquered islands, built ships that could travel anywhere. But now, the truth was clear. The oceans had rules, and humans had just broken the first one. Meanwhile, on the coasts and across naval bases, sailors told stories of strange sightings. Schools of fish moving in patterns, waves rising without storms, and dolphins watching ships in ways that felt deliberate. Something had changed in the ocean. Something had awakened, and humans could no longer ignore it. On the Valor, the crew tried to regain normal routines, but none of them slept easily. Every wave, every shadow in the water reminded them of the unseen force waiting below. Lieutenant Ramos wrote in his journal, I've fought pirates, storms, and enemy fleets, but nothing compares to what we faced. It wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a lesson. The ocean is alive, and we are not the masters. As days passed, more naval vessels reported similar sonar anomalies. Small submarines disappeared, deep-sea drones were lost without explanation, and mysterious blips appeared beneath the water in locations far from the initial encounter. Scientists debated, were these random events, or was the ocean sending a warning? Dr. Lane argued, this is intelligence, not mindless creatures. The dolphins, the shadow, they are part of a network. We cannot attack, we cannot provoke. We can only observe and try to understand. Military leaders were torn. Some wanted to strike to assert dominance. Others feared the consequences. If we fire first, said Admiral Stone, we may trigger something we cannot stop. The ocean is not a battlefield we can control. Meanwhile, Captain Harris knew that humanity had only seen the beginning. The Valor had survived, but the ocean had revealed its power. Every sonar blip, every strange wave, every unusual dolphin movement was a reminder. Humans were guests in a world they thought they owned. Late at night, Harris stood on the deck staring into the dark water. The horizon was calm, but he knew better. Somewhere beneath the surface, the shadow waited. The dolphins swam in patterns, watching, guiding, protecting, and humans had just realized that the war for the oceans was not against a single enemy, but against the limits of their own understanding. The public, unaware of the full story, speculated wildly. Some claimed secret submarines, unknown weapons, or natural disasters. Few guessed the truth. The oceans were alive with intelligence, ancient and unstoppable. Humanity's pride had been shaken. In labs and naval bases, scientists and engineers began working frantically, trying to design sonar sensors and devices that could study the phenomenon safely. But no one doubted it. Humans were still far from understanding the depth, power, and intelligence of the sea. Captain Harris addressed his crew. Remember this day? Remember what we faced? The ocean is not ours to conquer, but we are humans. We learn, we adapt, and one day we will understand. Until then, we respect it. We survive. The world was left in awe and fear. Humanity had faced the unimaginable and survived, but the oceans had reminded them of a simple truth. Some territories, some forces. The ocean had grown silent again, but silence was never peaceful. For Captain Harris and his crew, every ripple, every shadow beneath the waves was a warning. They had survived the first encounters, but the unknown intelligence of the deep had left its mark. Humanity now understood a hard truth. The oceans were alive, ancient, and far stronger than anyone had imagined. Deep below, in the darkest trenches where sunlight could not reach, the hidden terror waited. It was massive, its form shifting like liquid darkness. Its body was a tapestry of sinew, fin, and unknown shapes, blending perfectly with the deep waters. Every movement sent currents in strange patterns, as if the ocean itself obeyed its command. The dolphins swam around it, their movements precise and purposeful. They were more than guardians. They were emissaries, guiding the creature, controlling its path. Harris had seen the shadows, the flares of power, and the waves bending unnaturally. But this was different. The hidden terror was not just a force, it was intelligence incarnate, ancient beyond measure, and aware of every human action. On the Valor, the crew watched from the surface, their hearts heavy with awe and fear. Lieutenant Ramos broke the silence. "Sir, we can see it. The sonar is picking up. It's full size. It's enormous. Bigger than anything we've imagined." Harris nodded, gripping the railing. "And it's aware of us. It knows we're here. That's why the dolphins are guiding it, controlling how much it reveals." The hidden terror moved with surprising speed. Water columns surged as it rose nearer to the Valor. Yet it never fully surfaced. Its presence alone distorted the waves, creating currents that threatened to tip the battleship. Crew members clung to rails, eyes wide with disbelief. The dolphins circled rapidly, forming patterns that seemed almost ritualistic, as if conducting the unseen terror with careful precision. "Sir," said Ramos, voice trembling, "it's like it's testing us, measuring us, trying to see if we are a threat or prey." Harris's gaze never left the horizon. "It's intelligent. This isn't a mindless beast. It has purpose, strategy. It understands humanity." From the depths came a sound, a low, resonant hum, vibrating through the water and into the hull of the ship. The crew could feel it in their bones. It was neither roar nor cry, but communication, something older than any human language. The sound carried a warning. Leave this place or face the consequences. The humans understood one thing immediately. This creature and the intelligence controlling it had dominated these waters for millennia. Every battleship, every submarine, every sonar ping was a mere disturbance to its world. Yet the dolphins, clever and fearless, guided it, keeping the threat measured, avoiding destruction. For now, Harris realized the terrifying beauty of it. This was not just a fight. It was a test of humanity's understanding, courage, and respect. Humans had intruded into a domain they had assumed was theirs. And now, the oceans themselves were teaching them a lesson they would never forget. Suddenly, the water erupted violently. A column of seawater shot upward, taller than the Valar, swirling with dark shadows beneath it. Crew members shouted, gripping anything they could. The Dolphins dove beneath the waves, guiding the Terror away from the ship. But the display of power was unmistakable. Lieutenant Ramos swallowed hard. Sir, if it wanted, it could destroy us. Instantly. Harris nodded solemnly. Yes, but it doesn't. Not yet. The lesson is clear. We are not masters here. We are guests, observers. And if we respect the rules, we may survive. The battle had not ended, but the fight had shifted. The hidden terror, guided by the Dolphins, had demonstrated its power without killing. Humanity had survived, but the price was knowledge. The oceans were a living, intelligent kingdom, and humans were outsiders. Night fell. The waves calmed. The shadows of the Terror and its dolphin guardians sank back into the depths, leaving only ripples behind. Crew members looked over the edge, knowing that what they had witnessed was beyond comprehension, beyond legend. It was real, and it was waiting. Captain Harris spoke quietly, more to himself than anyone else. We have seen only a fraction of it. One day, humans may understand, but that day is far away. The oceans are alive, and whatever rules them will not forgive ignorance. The stars reflected on the calm surface of the water. But beneath, the hidden terror moved silently, guided by the Dolphins, aware of every human thought, every human action. The oceans had revealed themselves, and humanity now understood the truth. The deep was not for conquest. It was a kingdom older than civilization itself, and its guardians had only just begun to test their visitors. The Valar sailed forward, battered but alive, carrying not only a crew but knowledge that would shake the world. The hidden terror had taught humanity an unforgettable lesson. Power alone was not enough. Intelligence, respect, and courage mattered more, and the oceans would never be the same again. The world had barely recovered from the first encounters when the Naval Command decided they could not wait any longer. Humanity had to fight back. Captain Harris watched the Valar sail toward the designated coordinates, a mixture of determination and unease weighing heavily on him. Sir, Lieutenant Ramos said, checking the readings. All reconnaissance drones report the same thing. The shadow, the entity, is still out there, and the Dolphins are active. They're coordinating. Harris nodded. We don't fight blindly. We strike carefully, but we show that humanity is not powerless. Prepare the advanced sonar arrays and deploy all weapons. But remember survival first. The Valar was not alone this time. Other battleships, submarines, and deep-sea drones joined in formation. Scientists had designed new technology, weapons capable of extreme precision underwater. Humanity's best minds had prepared for this moment, blending courage, ingenuity, and advanced science thought, but the ocean had other plans. As the fleet reached the target zone, the water began to churn violently. Waves rose higher than any storm could create. Dolphins appeared in coordinated formations, moving faster and more intelligently than ever. They circled the shadow, which remained just below the surface, its enormous form twisting with purpose. The humans realized quickly the Dolphins were not only protecting the entity, they were controlling the battlefield. Harris gritted his teeth. Focus on observation first. We cannot match it head. We must learn its patterns, understand its reactions. Then the attack began. A column of water surged toward the lead battleship, forcing it sideways. Sonar devices pinged furiously, but the shadow moved too quickly. The Dolphins guided it with surgical precision, striking just enough to test the humans' responses without destroying them outright. Every torpedo fired was deflected, every cannon blast absorbed or redirected. Ramos shouted, "Sir, it's anticipating us. Every move we make, it knows." Harris's mind raced. We adapt. That's what makes us human. Focus, adjust, survive. We fight smart, not strong. The fleet tried coordinated attacks. Submarines dove at the shadow from different angles. Drones released decoys, attempting to confuse the entity. Yet every tactic failed. The ocean itself seemed alive, guiding the shadow to avoid damage while keeping the humans on edge. Hours passed. The humans' weapons did little more than stir the waters, but they learned. They watched the dolphins, noting their patterns and intelligence. They studied the shadow, understanding that brute force alone could never win this battle. Then came a moment of brilliance. Lieutenant Ramos noticed a pattern. The shadow responded slower to attacks coming from beneath it, where currents were weaker. Harris seized the chance. Deploy all drones deep. Focus our fire below. Let's see if we can make it retreat. Drones dove into the abyss, lights cutting through darkness. Torpedoes fired with precision, shaking the water violently. The shadow reacted, but the dolphins moved swiftly, shielding it from complete damage while allowing a small warning surge to hit the humans. The lesson was clear. The ocean tested them, but it allowed them to survive, learn, and adapt. The battle reached its peak. Waves towered, instruments shook, and sailors shouted over alarms. The humans had come face to face with something far beyond comprehension. And yet, in the chaos, they demonstrated their resilience, creativity, and bravery. Finally, after hours of testing and learning, the shadow retreated into the depths. The dolphins diving with it. The waves calmed. The fleet floated silently, battered but alive. The humans had survived. They had shown courage, ingenuity, and respect. And the ocean had acknowledged it, not as a conqueror, but as a worthy observer. Harris looked over his crew. We did not defeat it, but we survived. We learned, and that is humanity's strength. We may not control the oceans, but we adapt, we endure, and one day we may understand. The sun rose over the quiet water, casting a soft glow over the exhausted fleet. The hidden terror remained in the deep, guided by the dolphins, waiting. Humanity had faced its greatest test and survived, proving that courage, intelligence, and determination could match even the oldest and most powerful forces on Earth. Yet every sailor knew the truth. The oceans were alive, intelligent, and unforgiving. Humanity had survived its last stand for now. But the deeper they explored, the more they would realize that survival alone was just the beginning. Captain Harris whispered to himself, eyes fixed on the horizon. The oceans are not ours to command, but we are humans. We will learn, we will endure, and we will rise to the challenge. The battle was over. The fleet floated quietly on the calm waters, exhausted but alive. The sun rose slowly, painting the waves gold. Captain Harris stood on the deck of the Valor, staring at the horizon. The ocean looked peaceful again, but he knew better. Beneath the surface, something ancient and intelligent still waited. For days, the Naval Command analyzed every detail. Reconnaissance drones had returned with limited data. Sonar recordings had gaps, and eyewitness reports varied. Humanity had survived its first confrontation with the unknown rulers of the deep, but they had learned a lesson. The oceans were not theirs to dominate. The dolphins, mysterious and brilliant, had vanished into the depths, leaving the humans to reflect. They were guides, protectors, and perhaps teachers. Without the dolphins' careful coordination, the shadow might have destroyed everything. Humanity realized that the guardians of the ocean had tested them, measured them, and allowed them to survive, but only because they showed courage and restraint. Captain Harris gathered his crew. Listen, he said quietly, we didn't defeat the ocean, we didn't defeat the shadow, but we survived. We observed and we learned. That is our strength as humans. We adapt, we endure, and if we respect the rules of the world, we may live to understand more. Lieutenant Ramos nodded. Sir, it's amazing. The dolphins, the shadow, they're intelligent. The ocean itself is alive. They're not attacking for destruction. They're enforcing boundaries, showing us what happens if we overstep. Harris's eyes scanned the calm sea. We've always thought humans were masters of Earth, but now we see the truth. Some forces are older, wiser, and far stronger than we are. The ocean is one of them, and we have to respect it. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to study the data. They discovered patterns in the dolphins' behavior, ways the shadow moved, and the intelligence that guided the oceans. Yet the more they learned, the more questions arose. Humanity realized that knowledge would come slowly with patience, observation, and humility. Meanwhile, along coastlines and naval bases, stories of the ocean's guardians spread. Fishermen spoke of coordinated dolphin movements and strange, powerful waves. Children gazed at the water with wonder. People began to understand that Earth's oceans were not empty. They were alive with forces far older than humanity, forces that demanded respect. The world changed, slowly, but surely. Naval exercises were altered. Exploration and research became cautious and respectful. Humanity learned that survival did not mean domination. It meant understanding. Captain Harris stood on the Valor, night falling and stars reflected on the water. He whispered to himself, "The ocean has rules. We are outsiders, but we are humans. We will learn, we will endure, and one day, maybe, we will understand them fully." Then, in the darkness, a ripple moved beneath the waves. Dolphins surfaced briefly, glinting in the moonlight. The shadows swirled below them, unseen but present. It was a reminder, calm and silent, yet powerful. Humanity had survived. Yes, but the ocean had not revealed all its secrets. Harris smiled faintly. "We are still here, and that means we are capable of greatness. But we must always remember the ocean is alive, and its guardians are watching." The crew nodded silently. They had faced the impossible and survived. They had learned humility, courage, and respect. Humanity had won not by strength, but by understanding the limits of their power. They had proven that humans could rise to any challenge, but only if they approached it with intelligence and respect. The ocean remained vast and mysterious. The shadow and the dolphins moved silently below, guardians of an ancient world. Humanity had survived the first encounter. They had learned, and now they waited for the next lesson, for the next test, for the day when they might finally understand the secrets of the deep. As the night settled, the waves glimmered under the stars. Earth's oceans had claimed a quiet victory, but humans had survived to tell the story. The lesson was clear. Courage and intelligence could match even the greatest forces, but only when tempered with respect. And humanity, for all its flaws, had proven it could rise to the challenge. The oceans were alive, the guardians were watching, and humans had learned that survival was only the first step toward understanding.